Let's set up my reading journal for 2026. Hi friends, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Torey, and today I am diving into my personal reading journal for 2026. I am using the storybook notebook from Archer and Olive, a ton of my own personal stamp sets from my Etsy shop, a couple of digital papers, some craft papers as well from an Archer and Olive notebook, and a couple of sticker sheets that I did not realize when I purchased them were fully AI sticker sheets. So I will link them in the description box if you're interested in those. But by the time I caught onto it and noticed some of the very AI-ish things about it, I had already printed them out, cut them with my Cricut, and was basically setting up to film this video. So I did not want to waste all of those materials, and I am using them anyways. They're cute. There's just some weird things happening in a couple of the images. So just FYI. So to start, I am just taping the very first 2 pages of my journal together. I find that helps keep the journal more steady and intact throughout the year. I personally have not had any issues with my journals separating, but I'm wondering if that's because I always tape those first 2 pages together or do some sort of pocket situation that involves taping a portion of the 2 pages together. So if you're having that issue, maybe that is something that could be tried in the future. I am using some digital papers that I printed out just on regular old printer paper. For this first page, my cover page for 2026, I am actually going to crumble the papers up just to give it a little bit of texture. I don't end up repeating this particular aspect throughout the rest of the setup, only because the washi tapes and PET tapes that I ended up using, you can see the crinkles through the tape, and I didn't really like the way that looked, so I did not end up re-crinkling paper any further. So I'm just using a lot of digital items this time around so that I could print and reprint. Oh my gosh, I can't talk today. So that I could print and reprint as many as I may have needed if I ran out of supplies. I am going to be using this lace washi tape from the washi tape shop. Some of my all-time favorite PET tape, not washi tape. I love this so much. I purchased this one with my own money. I do partner with the washi tape shop sometimes, and they do send me washi tape and PET tapes, but this was one that I purchased myself, and I love it. I also have some bookshelf PET tape that I got on Amazon that I thought was super fitting, and the green leaves and these embroidery books actually match the green of this lace tape pretty well. So I am going to place lace on the top and the bottom of my page, as well as a bookshelf line on the top and the bottom as well, just to kind of frame in a little bit my actual cover page. For the printed word paper, I did just place those on opposite corners of my spread, and I'm actually going to end up pulling out, I believe, some of the craft paper that I will layer over both sides of the page so that the kind of abrupt stopping that's happening in the middle of the 2 pages is a little bit covered up, and I think that this really helps just kind of bring those 2 pages together. I'm going to cut this in half right down the middle as well, and I will pull out my typewriter complete alphabet stamp, and I will use that to stamp out 2026 reading journal. A very simple title because that's just usually what I title my reading journals. I am going to, because I already cut that paper in half, I'm going to use some washi tape just to keep it exactly where I want it. That way everything kind of stamps out where I want it as well. So again, I am just stamping out 2026 reading journal. I feel like I probably add some sort of either star rating stamp or sticker to this as well. Something that I have been doing for the past couple of years is just adding a little star rating to the cover of my reading journal and then just immediately giving it 5 stars. Because I just feel like all of the work and effort that we put into our reading journals is always a 5-star effort. And I like doing it. So that's something that I have been doing for what feels like quite a while now, and you should try it if you have not already, because when I flip back through my journals and see that my reading journal is rated 5 stars, it makes me feel pretty good. I am going to pull just a couple of the leaves and greenery pieces off of these sticker sheets and just layer those around the actual craft paper. There was several just like leaves on the sticker sheet, or one of them, and I will use those to just sprinkle around those flowers so it looks like it's kind of windy in my journal, I guess. I do like these stickers, apart from the weird AI situations that are happening, like on the back of that cover with the 3 teal books. I don't know what I thought that was when I initially saw the image, but it's not anything. It's just like a big blur of lines. So I did stamp out a 5-star rating, and I will eventually color that in, I believe, with my green Tombow right now. This is 228, I believe. And I'm just coloring in all 5 stars to give my reading journal 5 stars. Moving right along, we will start with my rating system and my 4 Doors to Reading page. I didn't actually fill in how I will be rating my books this year, but I'm thinking that's something that I might fill in whenever I do my reading journal migration video. I did one of those last year, and I thought it was super helpful to just kind of sit down, look at my 2025 reading journal, or my 2024 last year, and then really just kind of transfer over some of the things that I thought would be helpful to have in my 2025 reading journal. So I do want to do that again this year, so there will likely be another video of me just kind of going through, thinking about some of the stuff that I did in 2025 and transferring over books that I still need to read, my rating system, my series trackers, and stuff like that. So you can expect to see that video from me sometime in the near future. I am just doing a lot of boxes at this point in time. I actually filmed this entire prep setup. It's actually it's 3 members only videos on my channel if you are interested in seeing how all of this came together. I do a lot of referencing to my past journals to see what was working and what I want to bring back, what I stopped for 1 year and maybe want to bring back this year because I didn't do it last year, something like that. So I did film the whole process of sketching almost everything out for this particular setup. And yeah, it was about 3 hours and 15 minutes, I think, that I spent doing that. And then the whole setup process of this video took about 9.5 hours. So it has been a very long process. I tried to get this down to less than an hour. I was hoping to get around 40 minutes because that's pretty standard for what my reading journal setups end up being. But I just could not. I didn't want to cut too much stuff out, and I didn't want to split it into multiple videos. So this, I think, is going to be the longest video on my YouTube channel yet. So I am stamping out my actual 4 Doors to Reading preferences. Number 1 is still character, and that is basically just me connecting with the actual characters of the story and their development, their growth, things like that. The second one for me is the story or the plot, then the kind of grammar and language, and then the final thing that I am kind of not as interested in as the rest of it is setting, which is usually world building and kind of situations like that. I will link the same video that I linked in my giveaway journal setup if you're interested in learning a little bit more about the 4 doors to reading. I think it's a really helpful thing to just have noted in my journal. I know some people are using this as a way to rate their books as well. They're kind of like adding different ratings to each area and then using that to determine their final rating for a book. I do not personally do that. It is an awesome idea though, but I just like to understand when I'm looking back in my journal, like what was I even interested in? And I feel like the 4 doors to reading gives me a really good idea of what I was interested in. I know that I just repeated myself, but really, like if I am looking at a book, if I'm reading a book and I don't like the characters, and that's my number one 4 doors to reading characteristic, I'm going to assume that I probably rated that pretty poorly for that main reason, because I didn't like or connect with the characters. I mean, I don't solely rate on the characters, but truthfully, if I'm DNFing a book, it's because I hate the characters. And if I don't like the characters, I don't want to read it. So I think it's just very helpful information for me to have in my reading journal. That way I can really understand like where my mind was at this year throughout this reading. And if for whatever reason, maybe my preferences change, I could always add a little flip up to that page and just kind of say like mid-year adjustments, and then like add the new way that I'm using those 4 doors to reading at that time in the year. And knowing me, I'd probably use like a date stamp or something like that to actually note the date that I changed those preferences. The next 2 pages that I'm working on are just goals. So for my goals for this year, I am going to give myself some quarterly goals. I have not yet decided what goals I want to give myself for this year, but I thought it would be super fun to give myself some goals to potentially work towards. This is another thing that I'm kind of hoping that I might have determined by the time I do my reading journal migration. So definitely be on the lookout for that if you're interested to see what kind of goals I'm setting for myself for this year. I am also doing just a bunch of random little boxes, and that is going to be for just the books that I'm reading. I think for 2026, I'm actually going to reduce my reading goal, which is so funny to me because I did the absolute most I have ever done in a reading journal setup in this particular setup. And I think I'm going to give myself a goal of less books to read. So I just think that that's super comical of me to do. But I think I'm going to do either 60 or 65 books. I don't want to say I've had a rough year reading because I have read over 50 books this year. But in previous years, last year I think I read upwards of 90. The year before I had 71 or 72 or something like that. So I normally read a significant more amount of books than I read this year. So it feels like I had a really bad year of reading. And I did go through like a several month slump for reading as well. And I'm sure that that had a huge contribution to this. But I think that removing a little bit of that pressure of a specific reading goal will be helpful for me to actually focus more on what I'm reading, I guess. I also just way left field. I'm thinking that my word of the year for 2026 is going to be slow. And I think giving myself a lesser reading goal for the year will give me, like, in the back of my mind, like a subconscious kind of mindset that I don't have to read. I've not given myself a goal to read so many books, so I can really just take my time and really enjoy and slowly read through the books that I do choose, that I do decide to pick up and read. So that's kind of a little thought process. I'm super rambling because this is the first time that I've really thought about a lot of what I'm even saying right now. So that's kind of what I'm thinking, I guess. So I do think that a lower goal is going to be super helpful for me this year. And who knows, maybe giving myself a lesser goal and focusing more on like the slow and the experience of reading, maybe I'll end up reading more books than I normally read. Who knows? We'll see. Only 2026 knows. Let's see. I've done a lot of stamping. I've colored in with that green marker and 990, which is another one of my favorite Tombow markers. Stamped out my total books. That is going to be basically what I end the year with. So even if I only read 60 books because I gave myself 90 spaces on here, even if I only read 60 books, I'll still stamp out 60 books in that little total books field. Just because I like to see it. I think it's fun. I enjoy it. I did put some craft paper down at the bottom, and I angled a little bit of that lace PET tape, which is also a little bit weird because I don't believe I angle that at all, again, in this setup. But it looked kind of good for this particular page, so I'm not mad at it. This script paper that I printed out just on normal printer paper, I really, really love. And I feel like it fits so well with the craft papers and that lace. And I'm just really glad that I picked it. I will link that Etsy shop down in the description box below as well for you, just in case you're interested in some digitals or printables and want to check those out. We're going to jump in to probably what took the absolute longest for the entire setup, and that's going to be my 2026 bookshelf pages. Again, me giving myself a lesser goal than I have had in previous years. I'm going to do 3 pages of bookshelf, essentially. I don't know what I'm thinking, but truthfully, like, my husband looked at this after I finished it and told me that he thinks it's the best bookshelf that I have ever done. And I can't help but to agree with him. I am so pleased with the way that this bookshelf came out. I actually think that I really had this idea while I was doing this setup. So I think that me going through the thought process of this is actually in that planning video that I have for the members of my channel. So it was fun. I am doing a similar thing to what I have done in past setups where I use my bookshelfie stamp, and I'm going to stamp out that window, but this time I stamped it out 2 times and I stamped it on craft paper. I'm using a craft knife and cutting as close as I possibly can to the actual stamped lines of the window. And then I am going to, I think, move to do something else. This X-Acto knife situation always just, it feels like I am just torturing myself. My hands always hurt so bad. I do personally have a problem with gripping things too tightly. That's just a me thing. And I think that because I do that, it makes acts of like X-Acto knife cutting and things like that like quite painful. And I know I shouldn't. I try to be really conscious of it, but like I'm not, and I always do it. So that's what's gonna end up happening. I think I'll move on and do a little bit of ink blending and some other stuff like that while I wait for my hand to kind of chill out a little bit. So I'm going to cut out 2 of these windows with the X-Acto knives that I have. And the idea that I'm having is that I will end up actually cutting a hole in one of my papers, and I will fill that paper or between the 2 windows with vellum and some additional PET tape. I didn't do this in the first one that I did, but you can see literally how close I am to this. I left my whole head in it. I was actually going to just crop all of this out, but I thought it was a little bit comical to let you see like truly how close I needed to be to see what I was doing. So much so that my head was in the video and like you can hardly even see what I'm doing because I had to have it so close to my face. So the other part was a little bit torturous because I had to keep it so far away from me. Okay, so we're back to my reading journal. I am going to make a little Dutch door situation. I'm just using my guillotine cutter to trim down my page. And essentially what I'm going to do, again, is I'm going to cut a hole in this paper. I'm tracing down one of the windows just so I know really where I need to cut so that I can get that hole like in a realistic area. I'm going to end up placing one window on one side of the page with a piece of vellum attached to the back of it, and then the other window on the back of the page. But one of the things that I'm going to end up doing with that vellum that I'm going to pull out is I'm actually going to pull out some additional PET tape that's got some kind of like rundown houses on it, also from Amazon. And I'm going to tape that to my vellum. So it looks like there's like a little bit of a scenery situation, but you can also see the bookshelf on the other page behind it. I think it looks really cool, and it probably will look and make a lot more sense once we actually get to that part of it. Before I started gluing things down though, and after I got this cut out, I did want to add some of this brick stencil to the background because of course if you've got a window, it would make sense to have like a wall next to it. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just going to put this brick stencil down. This is the same kind of setup that I used for the giveaway reading journal, where I'm using this brick stencil from Amazon and the Close to My Heart mink ink because I just love that color. And I'm just going to use a blending brush from scrapbook.com to blend all of this ink out. I'm not trying to make it perfect by any means. In fact, I'm almost trying to make it very imperfect just because I feel like it gives it a little bit of an aged look. And this particular stencil already has like an aged brick look. So having some parts with the ink being darker and others where it being lighter, it really kind of definitely gives it more of an aged look. I'm going to let that sit for a minute, and I'm actually going to move on to drawing out lines for my bookshelf. I got a little bit overwhelmed with how badly I wanted this to look good, and I started dwelling on it as I was working on this. So I decided to take my mind off of that a little bit, that I would maybe just focus on drawing some lines. And that's what I did. So I am going to, in total, have 2 full bookshelves and then 2 small bookshelves underneath each of the window portions. 2 of those shelves on the small bookshelf, you can see one of those is much smaller than the other, is going to basically just be for like decorative stamps. I'm not actually going to put books on those. Everything else, I believe that they ended up being 8 dot grid spaces tall. Every single bookshelf, it worked out so perfectly. All of those are just going to be filled with books. And then the larger portion of the tiny bookshelf, the larger shelf on the tiny bookshelf, will also have books on it as well. So I am going to just stop talking for a moment and maybe play some music while I am drawing out these lines. I might even go so far as to actually stamping, but I don't remember if I do that before or after I do the window. We are going to move right into stamping. So I am stamping out so many bookshelves. These stampable books are actually books from my Bookshelfie stamp set, and that is what I'm using here. I'm just using the largest sideways count and then the one that has the tilted books along the edge and just placing them all over. I am going to then move on to grabbing a piece of vellum and this PET tape. And I'm actually going to place the PET tape on the front and the back of the vellum and just try to line it up as close as possible. Obviously, this is not like a mirrored tape, so it's not going to match exactly, but I kind of just tried to make it as close to as possible. That way I could see a clear photo from both sides. I'm going to use some liquid glue and just place that on the back of my actual window and then place that over top of where I want it to lay across the PET tape and the vellum. And you'll see that I just dropped that frame and got glue literally everywhere. So that was a bit of a bummer. I actually ended up pulling up a bunch of paper because I let it sit for too long on my actual bookshelf. So I will go back and kind of redraw over that with a pen to fix that a little bit. It will be super noticeable whenever I go to color these books in, though, unfortunately. I am going to trim out the vellum around my window, and then I will glue that down to my actual page. I will glue the other frame first, and then I'm just going to kind of line that up using the actual frame. Since it is vellum, I am able to kind of see through that. So I'm just going to line it up as best I can, and you can see it just looks like an actual little window. And I am so pleased with it. I love the way that this looks so much. I will, I believe, color in my shelves and add some feet to my shelves as well. I'm showing my husband here. This is where he tells me he thinks it's my best one yet, even though it's not even finished. I'm going to add my feet and then use various of my Tombow markers to actually color in the shelves in hopes that they look a little bit like wood grain. I think they came out decent. I'm not upset with the way that they look. And since I had so much room with all of the various bookshelves that I've got going on here, I added a candle, some little boxes, a picture, just a lot of the little extras that I do have in the bookshelfy stamp set that I don't use a lot. And I got to use them. I also have an open book with the little like less than sign 3 to be like an old school heart, because that's how we used to send hearts when I first started texting ages ago. And I just thought that was like a nice little call to that. So that's why that's in that stamp set. So I just added one of those because I love reading and I thought it was very fitting. So I'm starting, I believe, with the 942. I'm pretty sure that's the 942 Tombow marker. You can't actually see anything on this marker anymore. And for those of you who are like me and are just, I like use my pens to absolute dryness. And I have found that if you have some clear nail polish and you just put a little bit of clear nail polish over the number of the pen, it won't actually fade off like the rest of the white print fades off of these pens as you use them. I've not experienced that happening yet. So hopefully I don't, but so far it's been working pretty well for me and I'm super pleased with that as well. My stamping is a little bit not perfect with all of the books. So after I finish getting everything set up, I actually do come in and just take one of my Pigma Microns and just color in the bottoms where there's a little bit of space between the books and the actual shelf. I do end up coloring in that blank space with my black marker because I felt like doing that when all of these books are colored in fully, it'll make it a little bit less noticeable that it's not actually perfectly lined up with the shelf. And I think that that's going to be a fine kind of resolution to that. The only color that I actually end up using throughout pretty much all of this setup is going to be that 228 Tombow color. And I find for me personally, the less colors that I have to choose from, the easier it is for me to set up my spreads and actually be happy with them. So I do use a lot of more neutral, like browns and grays and black when I'm setting up my journals. And sometimes if I do feel like I need to add a little bit of color, I will just pop in just one single color. Maybe if I'm feeling extra frisky, like 2 shades of the same color. I almost went with purple, which is wild because I've never really been a huge fan of purple, but I am definitely in my purple era right now. And I almost chose purple. I did go with my tried and true green though, and I'm super pleased with how the whole setup came out because I just love this Tombow color. I'm going to color the feet in, and I think that this is N49, which is a really deep like charcoal color. And I'm also using my N89 Tombow dual brush pen to fill in the background of the shelves. I did not go so extra in this particular shelf and like try to add shading or anything like I did in the giveaway journal, but I did really like the way that the background being colored in looked, and I just love this marker. Truthfully, if I had to pick a favorite marker, it would probably be the Tombow N89. It is one of my all-time favorites. I love it so much. So I'm going to get that colored in. There are 2 shelves in this whole spread that I did not color the background in. And I did not color those in because I left that space open in case I wanted to add more stamping. And that's going to be on the back of this like Dutch door page. One of the shelves on the back of this page is not colored in. And then one of the shelves at the very top of the second full shelf. So this next page up here. There's a nice little space there that I could put a little extra item if I wanted. So I left the shelf of that one kind of open in case I decided I wanted to stamp another little extra piece in there. I am going to pull back out that stencil, and I'm just going to add some stenciling all the way around my actual shelves. I can't decide if it would be better for me to do this before I do the shelves or afterwards, because I think I did this exact same thing in the giveaway journal as well. I'm feeling that this is the way that I need to be doing it, just because I don't want the brick to be on the actual bookshelf. So I think that this makes the most sense for me, but it's entirely possible that I'm just making things way harder on myself than I need to, because that is something that I do quite often. So I'm just going to fill in just the brick stencil basically on all of the outer areas of the bookshelf. And then I think we're done with this spread and a half. It's the longest part of the whole video, I think, I'm pretty sure, even though I did a lot of like jump cutting and just like editing to make it go a little bit quicker, but it is my favorite part. I am so happy with the way that the bookshelf turned out on this one. I would love to know what you think about it down in the comments below if you also love it. Yeah, so I think that that's all we'll do with the bookshelf, and then we'll move along and we'll start working on, I believe, the upcoming releases. Oh, no, I'm actually going to do all of the wood grain look. So I will pull out various different shades of those grays and browns that I have, and I'm actually going to just randomly draw lines all over on the quote-unquote like wood of the shelves. One of the things that I would like to do in a setup in the future is maybe do some like really, really elaborate shelves. I thought about it a lot before I started this setup and like planning everything for this setup. I just did not have it in me. Like the confidence was not there. One of these days though, I'm going to do an elaborate bookshelf page. It's at the back, it's inkling, it's there, the need, the want. One of these days I'm actually going to do it. So now we have moved along and we are working on my upcoming releases. I did this exact spread For my 2025 reading journal, I also did this spread in the giveaway journal. And, you know, if it's not broke, don't fix it. I love this spread. I think it's just the perfect amount of space, especially if you don't have a ton of books every year to add. I am hopeful that I have a lot more books this year to add to the spread than I did last year. I just kind of, this year, more than I did this year. I did this in the giveaway journal, I think. No, I did this in my prep video where I keep saying last year when we're still in the year that I'm talking about, because I feel like I'm in the future because I'm doing a 2026 setup. It's my brain is fried, I swear. Anyways, so what was I saying? I am hopeful that for 2026, I have a lot more books to add to this page than I did in 2025. But I think that a large part of the problems that I was having in 2025 with filling in some of these pages on my journal were just because I was in such a reading slump for like a good 3 to 4 months of the year. And because I was in that slump and because of the way that I was doing my reading journal videos this year, I just wasn't hardly ever going into my reading journal. So another thing that I am considering is how I actually want to do all of my reading journal videos for 2026. I'm considering going back to doing a monthly setup at the beginning of the month. And it's not going to be very long setup. It's probably just going to be maybe a cover page and then a calendar and totals page for each month. I'm not 100% sure yet, but I'm also thinking that I might switch to doing individual like reel type videos for each book review page. And I'm thinking that if I do that, maybe I will do like a collaborative video, not a collaborative, a compilation video at the end of the month of each of those reels that I film. I just don't know how that will look because those will be like vertical videos. I think a lot about this kind of stuff. I don't know if y'all know that about me, but like I dwell and I do a lot of thinking about what I think will work and if it'll look good and if it'll be liked and blah, blah, blah. So let me know if you've got any kind of things that you would like to see from me for 2026 for my reading journals. I just really want to be opening my reading journal more. And for 2025, I ended up only opening my reading journal at the very end of the month. And then once I hit my reading slump, I stopped opening my reading journal because I wasn't doing the end of monthly setups. So I still haven't updated past June in my 2025 reading journal. I've got a lot of the books and stuff printed. I just don't actually have those spreads done. So I completely stopped talking about what I was actually doing on screen. I'm so sorry. But we've all seen me do that journal setup quite a bit. So let's move right along. This next 2 pages is pretty easy as well. I have my recommended page, which is basically just any books that either friends recommend me or maybe I get from watching somebody on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram, whatever. If somebody is talking about a book that I think I'm really going to like, then I will add it to my recommended page. And that's the reason that I have the source there, to just write down if it's somebody that I found on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok. I can kind of write their handle down and check them back out if I do end up really liking that book. And then I have the DNFs page, which is usually just a DNFs page, but I've also added the word paused to it as well. I don't find that I am a person that does a lot of DNFing. I have to really, really hate a book to DNF it. And a lot of the times when I'm not wanting to read it, it's just because of like where I'm at in life. And maybe I'm just not interested in that style of book. So I decided to add the word pauses to that as well. And I've decided that any books that I just kind of take a break from reading, like maybe I read like half of it and just decide that it's not something that I'm into at the moment, I can add that to this list and then come back and use it as a way to remember which books that I have paused and maybe I do want to go back and check them out. And instead of putting like a did not finish reason in the reason column, I can just write the word paused, and then that can be a good indicator that that's something that I might want to maybe look back into a little bit later into the year when I'm feeling potentially a little bit different about things. The next spread that I am going to be working on is my 2026 at a glance spread. I have done a much more condensed version of a spread like this in years past, where I just kind of do like monthly totals. And in those ones, I normally keep track of how many books I read and how many pages I read. And in the past 2 years, I think I was keeping track of how many diverse books I read as well. But yeah, I decided to make it a little bit more elaborate this time. So I've got an area for each of the 12 months of the year and a totals column. I don't have all of my choices made yet, so this might be another thing that gets finished in my migration video, but I do have a section for total books, total pages, audiobooks, physical books, and immersive books. And then I believe I put a 5-star reads on here as well, how many books I read that month that I gave 5 stars. And then I just have a massive empty spot on the second page that if I can't think of anything else that I want to add there, I'm just going to put favorite book, and I will write the title and author of the favorite book that I read for that month in that spot. I do think I might add diversive reads in here as well. But I'm not 100% sure really what I'm going to be putting in there. I think that if I can't think of anything else that immediately like sticks out to me, I might add just the diversive. Did I say that right? Diversive? Is that a word? Anyways, diverse reads, and then a section to put the title of my favorite book in. And then that should cover all basically of the areas that I have in this at a glance page. The very last column that I have is an average rating column. And I believe that this is something that Storygraph will offer you in your monthly totals. And I always think it is super interesting to see like what my average rating for the whole month was. And that is something that I have been adding into my monthly totals as well this year. So I think that having that in my 2026 at a glance kind of chart situation that I've got going on here will be like a really fun statistic to track. I always love looking back at these pages at the end of the year and then in years past when I'm looking through my reading journals. I adore it. So I'm really excited to see what this looks like at the end of 2026. And I feel like I say stuff like this a lot, but I always reference like looking back at past journals. And I feel like, I don't know that anybody's ever actually asked me, but I feel like people often would wonder, like, do you actually look back at your old journals? And I do. I actually got a message on Instagram like last month, I think, asking me about some of the different ways that I print my book covers and if the Canon Ivy printer that I use sometimes, like if the photos held up over time. And I went and grabbed my 2022 reading journal because that's when I got that printer. And I just opened it up because I used that printer for a lot of those books in that journal. And I took a picture of it, of one of the pages in there, and I sent it to her. And I was like, this was several years ago and it still looks pretty decent. Like there's no issues with it because I don't leave it open or anything like that. But I often will just flip back through those journals and like look at my spreads and kind of see how things are going and how things have changed. And I think that's probably the thing that I like to look at the most, is to see how my preferences and journaling style changes over time. We've switched pages here, and I don't think I even acknowledged that I did so because this is apparently going to be a very, very rambly video. Hopefully nobody minds. I feel like I'm just telling my whole life story over here, but we are working on my series tracker. This one is going to be pretty much exactly the same as I did for the giveaway journal. This year for me though, my plan is to write the name of the series and then list out each of the book names that is in that series underneath it. So this will be one that'll take a little bit more time for me to transfer whenever I do my migration, because I'm going to have to make sure that I look up all of the names of each book in whatever series that I'm writing down. I don't tend to actually add a lot of series to my series tracker just because I read a lot of like interconnected standalones, and I'm not going to add an interconnected standalone series to my series tracker unless I've already read maybe 2 to 3 of those books and I'm just obsessed with everybody that's in the series and I want to keep reading more of that series. So since that's a lot of the style of the books that I read, I'm often just flip-flopping all over the place and not actually adding those ones to a series tracker. There are a couple of series that I do need to add in general, maybe not so much as like a goal for 2026, but just as a reminder of like, hey, you read the first book in this series and you do want to read the next one, so go ahead and read it. So that's pretty much how that one is going to work for me. I'm also going to do something very similar for my 5-star reads page, which is what we're working on now. And I'm going to cover this whole page with this brick stencil because truthfully, the 5-star read page in my giveaway journal was like my second favorite spread. Like I think the bookshelf in that one was my favorite of that journal, unsurprisingly, because that's usually the one that I spend the most time on. But the 5-star reads one that I did as well was just, I loved it so much. So I'm basically copying myself and doing something similar in my journal for 2026. So I'm doing grid everywhere. And then I'm also using this printed script paper as well. And I'm just going to add some of the bookshelf PET washi. I will add a little bit of lace. I feel like I've only been using these in conjunction. Like if I'm using the bookshelf, I'm adding the lace because I just really like the way that it looks kind of popping out behind the bookshelf. I'm not really paying too much attention to where these two are actually ending on page 2 because I'm going to actually have those going underneath of the patterned paper. So I'm not paying too much attention. I just need them to be long enough that they actually do disappear under the paper. I'm also going to grab just a little bit of craft paper and I'm going to layer that on top of some or underneath some of the printed pattern paper as well. I will also stamp out 5-star reads with my Typewriter Alphabet Complete stamp set as well. And I don't know that I've mentioned it in the past couple of pages, but I've also been using my numbers in days stamp pretty frequently in this setup as well. Basically, anytime I have to stamp out small numbers or months and days of anything. I'm also using my mini typewriter alphabet quite a bit as well for any words that I do not already have stamps for that I want to be quite small. So honestly, I probably spent about 4 hours of the 9 hours that I was recording stamping. And I love stamping, but I did so much stamping. I was so tired when I was done with all of this, y'all. I was just so tired. I am also that weird little like orange thing that I had in my hand. That's a like adhesive eraser. I've noticed when I put pattern papers and stuff down, I always end up with my pages sticking together because I end up with random dot adhesive on my page. So if I can see it before I close the page, I will just grab my little adhesive eraser and just erase that adhesive. And that way I don't have to worry about it. You will also notice kind of how we move throughout the video that the stamping just seems to be going quicker and quicker, and like maybe there's a little bit more jump cuts to have it finish up a little bit quicker. And that's because I did spend like half of this video doing actual stamping, and I kind of thought that it might get boring after a while. So there's a lot of different kind of transitions and speeds and all sorts of stuff happening for the stamping areas of the video, just to kind of make it a little bit more interesting. We are now on my books read spreads, and I'm giving myself 2 spreads to do this, and I'm going to be doing a Dutch door spread for this. I just cut a line down the top of the page on the right, and I actually, instead of cutting that fully off, I'm going to glue that down to the following page. I'm doing that because the more you cut towards the center of the journal, the more likely you are to accidentally hit some of those threads and cause your journal to come apart. And I feel like this is just a safer option because I do have the page kind of separated in the middle, but the actual like center is not, I'm not like cutting near it, if that makes sense. So I'm just adding a ton of lines to this particular page. This is just going to be an ongoing list of any and all of the books that I read in 2026. And I will be having a book number, the title and author, the format that I've read the book, the dates that I read the books, and a rating that I gave the book as well. I just think it's really interesting to see it all in one giant list. So that's why I am doing it. One thing that I really liked in past journals, though, was also having a list of the books that I read during that month in each monthly setup. And I am considering doing that again as well. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that because I will have this overarching list, but also sometimes I don't want to have to flip all the way back to the beginning of the journal, especially when I'm getting closer to the end of the journal. So I'm just not 100% sure really how I'm going to do those monthly pages and what I'm going to do for them just yet. So I'm going to use the My Reading Journal stamp set because I've got many of these stamps already on this. I've got the title and author stamps, dates, rating, and then I also have on my mini typewriter stamp a number sign and an F for format. And I like to just kind of keep track of all of these. I just added some text washi tape to the top and bottom of the spread, and that's all I'm going to do for decoration on that page. The next 2 spreads are just going to be all of the book covers of the year. Of the past 2 reading journals that I've had that I've done this in, this has been just some of my favorite pages to look at. I just absolutely adore seeing the covers of every book that I've read throughout the whole year just next to each other in a whole spread. So I am going to do that again this year just because I love it so much. I am using that script washi, or not script, but text washi again, putting it across the top of my page and the bottom of the first page. And the reason that I did the Dutch door situation that I ended up doing for this spread is just so I didn't have to do the decoration more than once. And obviously it worked out really well for me because I didn't need to do it more than once. I am going to add a little bit of the lace washi tape, lace PET tape, to the bottom of the bookshelf page as well, or the top of the book. Let me just take a moment. To the top of the book covers spread as well. since that's going to be the part that is visible through the Dutch door. But I am not actually going to title this spread or these spreads, just because I don't really feel like it's necessary. When I start putting these book covers down, I think it's going to be self-explanatory to anybody that looks at it that they're just the covers of the books. So we are now on a new day. You can see that my sweater has changed. I'm doing a little bit of a flip through to kind of see what we've done so far. And we are going to work on all of my challenges. For the past couple of years, I don't think I've done a ton of challenges, at least not as many in my start of the year setup video. But I've got quite a few that I wanted to do for this particular year. So I'm actually going to make a whole separate cover page for it. I'm also, I believe, going to do a whole separate cover page for like monthly setups and reviews, probably one cover page for both of those situations. I think it looks really cool. So you'll have to let me know what you think down in the comments below if you agree that having the cover page for each section looks nice, because I love it. And because most of this paper and product that I'm using are printables, I can just reprint most of this out if I want to make any more cover pages throughout the rest of the year. I'm going to be doing this one a little bit differently than I have been for several of the actual spreads that we've done today. And I'm actually doing the washi tape on the sides of the page instead of the top and the bottom. I'm using that lace PET tape, and then I'm using this text washi tape as well. And I will actually rip the washi tape just a little bit to give it a nice little distressed edge and place that right next to the bottom of the PET tape, well, overlapping the bottom of the PET tape. I am going to use some more of the craft paper and the actual script paper for my cover for the actual page itself. I believe that I actually end up stamping on the script paper, and I think that I did have a little bit of a mental dilemma doing that because I didn't want like the text on text to be overwhelming or look weird, but I think that it looks fine. I don't think that I ended up having any issues with that. But I did write out the word challenges in my little catch-all journal there to make sure that I was spelling it correctly, because probably one of the things that I mess up the most is whenever I have to spell words backwards. I'm going to layer the craft paper at the top and the bottom of this script paper, and then I will use my actual guillotine trimmer to cut this in half. Once it's cut in half, we will go ahead and get that laid down on the page, and then pop back in with some stickers from those sticker sets at the beginning and just pop those on the page as well. The challenges cover page, I ended up really, really liking. I'm actually truthfully just very satisfied with how this whole setup came together. I don't think that there was any page or spread in the whole setup that I was like just super unhappy with. So I'm quite pleased with the way that everything did turn out. Now we will jump into all of my challenges for 2026. The first one, of course, is the A to Z challenge. This is one of my favorites. I don't think that I'll get it completed for 2025, but that's not going to stop me for 2026. So I am just stamping out all of the letters of the alphabet and the title of A to Z challenge. And then I am going to work on getting the pages set up. I will kind of flip back and forth between the A to Z challenge page and the daily read challenge, or I think I called it read daily actually. I'm going to switch back and forth between the pages, mostly because I am still having a terrible time rubbing my markers as I'm using them and having them bleed on the page, and I don't like that. So I find that to battle my impatience, just kind of moving on and doing something a little bit different while I'm waiting for the ink to fully settle is a really helpful way for me to just let that happen and not feel impatient and like I'm going to just go crazy with boredom. So the next challenge that I will have on here is the Read Daily Challenge as well. And I did this last year and I believe the prior year, where I just mark off if I have read that day. I am going to shrink this down to be just like a graph kind of chart situation. So I've got one dot grid space for every single day of the year. I think that there's a specific word for this and I cannot remember what it is. But I will have one graph space for every day of the year. And I will color it in with, I think, Tombow, I think the 228 actually, the green Tombow if I read. If I did not read, I'm actually going to color the space in black. And if I finished a book, I'm going to color the space in with the 990 brush pen and then draw a little star in it. This year for 2025, I did like a shape design for days that I did not read. And it ended up being like a huge hassle to do it every time I didn't read. So I think that just coloring in the square black, especially since it's significantly smaller than it was last year, about half the size at least, it'll be a lot easier to maintain that as well. I am back over on the A to Z challenge page and I am just filling in all of my boxes here. I did not actually do a lot of double lines in this particular setup. I didn't do any at all actually. And I did a lot of double lines in the giveaway journal. I think I wanted to see if it would bother me a lot if I had a lot of crooked lines that I didn't actually go over again with a secondary line. And I think that because I've got a lot of ripped paper and like the broken grid and like all of the washi and the scripts and like distressed looking paper that I'm using throughout the setups, that the wonky crooked lines just, they don't even matter. Or at least like in a bad way. They do matter because they're beautiful, but they're not bothering me. I am going to add some of that craft paper to my A to Z challenge, and I will really just dive into decorating both of these pages here. So I will go through to using some of the craft paper and then some more washi tape and all of the other things that I'm using to really just get this finalized and set up for these two pages. I will use a couple of stickers and I'm going to use that script paper as well. I am going to stamp out every single day of the year, 1 through 31 on the left-hand side of this graph chart, and then January through December at the very top underneath my Read Daily title. But because I didn't want to bore everybody with all of the stamping again, I believe that I kind of chop through that real quickly, or maybe even just kind of blur it into already being done. Yeah, the last couple of challenges that we'll go into while I'm kind of working on getting this page finished, I actually am going to do a Read the Rainbow challenge where I try to read a book with every color of the rainbow plus white, black, and gray. And then I have like 5 bingo challenges. And I'm actually considering for the bingo challenges to make like reading challenges on Storygraph. Let me know down in the comments if that's something that you would be interested in. So essentially, well, I'll talk about it a little bit more when we actually get to that page. But I've got a challenge, I guess, like a bingo type challenge for each season as well. I got a couple of stickers laid down, and then I am just coloring in all of my boxes and for, you know, if I read, if I didn't read, and all of the dates and months. And then we will move right along. I'm also stamping out the number of the marker that I used to color that in, just so I don't forget. Moving along though, I will do the Read the Rainbow challenge. And I've got red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, and then black, white, and gray on here. And I am not actually coloring anything in. I'm sure that y'all have realized by now I'm fairly color averse. So I am just going to stamp out the title in each book, and I will probably print out the covers and just place the cover over top of each book, like book spot. But I'm not going to actually color in each rectangle to be the color that I want to go there. I'm just going to stamp those out. The following page is going to be my bingo challenge for the year. And I am going to give myself, I believe 20. I think it was 20. I've got 5 rows down and I think 4 boxes across. So I've got 20 prompts. I know that's not technically bingo because it doesn't actually spell bingo. Like there's not enough spaces for all of it. But it's my journal and my challenge. I can do what I want. So I did. So I just basically drew out a rectangle to kind of act as a book with a line in the middle of each of those, or almost in the middle. I will write the actual challenge prompt above the line, and then I will place the name of the book that is going to meet that prompt underneath it. And I will probably color each square fully in once I read a book that would kind of satisfy that prompt. I'm going to go ahead and stamp out my titles and then add a very little bit of decoration to this page because I did not leave myself a ton of room to do any decoration. So we will just do what we can before we move along. The last thing I end up doing before we move along to the final spread that we will do in today's video is add my actual title to my book bingo page. And I would love to know your thoughts on my kind of thought in the comments below. I did not leave any room on the following page to give any sort of official title to the spread that we'll do next. So I was thinking of underneath where I have book bingo stamped out for the title of this page, maybe I will use my smaller typewriter alphabet to stamp out like seasonal bingo with an arrow to kind of flip the page over. I'm not 100% sure if I would actually like the way that that would look though. So I would love to know what your thoughts are down in the comments, how you think that that would look. Let me know, please. So that to say, the next spread and the last spread that we will do today is going to be a seasonal bingo challenge for each season of the year. I did, when I was actually doing it, really enjoy giving myself a challenge for like the first 5 months of the year in 2025. But I also felt like that was very like a lot. Like I really dove right into that and I burnt out on it quite quickly. So what my thought was for 2026 is I could give myself like a mini bingo challenge for each season. So I would have kind of 4 challenges to go by and have 9 prompts in each challenge. So I've drawn out 9 little 3x3 boxes, in 4 little areas of this page, and I will title each one to say fall, or not fall, but spring, summer, autumn, and winter. And then each of these challenges, each of these 9 prompts, will be something related to that season, roughly. Not maybe exactly each time, but I did already come up with the prompts. You'll see the screen kind of transition to them being completed because it was a lot of writing. But I wanted to have those completed before I started working in my 2026 album. That way I don't just leave these pages blank and don't actually touch them. So I was thinking, like I mentioned earlier, that I might just take these and actually turn them into actual Storygraph challenges. So if you want to follow me on Storygraph, I'm pretty sure I'm just Torey Ramos on Storygraph. But if I do end up making them challenges that you can follow along with, I will put a link down in the description box below if you wanted to see those prompts and maybe join them for each season of the year. I'm going to stamp out, like I said, spring, summer, autumn, and winter. And then I have very, very simple and basic prompts for each season of the year. Like some of them were as basic as just like a blue cover or a cover with flowers on it. And then like a book about snow. I can't even remember what I wrote on here, but you can always pause the screen when I get to that if you want to see them as well, but they will be on here momentarily. And then I will just color in the box once I finish each challenge, and then the blank space underneath the number and the actual prompt will be where I place the book cover for the book that I read to complete that challenge. Let me know what you think about this down in the comments. I'm actually super, super excited for it. I think it'll be a lot more manageable than trying to do a different challenge every single month, especially for anybody who is like me and also like they work a full-time job, they've got a family, like there's just a lot happening in life. And as much as I love challenges, it's not always the easiest thing to accomplish. So we're done. This is my full 2026 reading journal flip through. It's entirely possible I'll end up with more pages added later on in the year. I usually always leave a couple of blank pages at the end of my setup, just in case I want to add anything fun, anything additional to my beginning of the year pages. So I like to, plan for myself because I know how I am. But I would love to know your thoughts on this setup down in the comments below. Let me know if you would have done anything differently, and what your favorite setup spread is. I love the bookshelf spread. That's always a favorite. And I think for this one, it's just going to be the same, where it's just the bookshelf spread. And the 5-star reads page is awesome. Also, though, the challenges cover page is just top tier for me. Anyways, let me know what your favorite is. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. That's all I've got to share with you today. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye.